Hello, fiber friends. Today we are talking about flowery patterns for spring. So if that sounds like it will be of interest to you, I hope you'll stick around. Hello, knitting friends, and welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Kristen, and today I am sharing some spring-inspired flowery patterns. First, I apologize for the lighting. In retrospect, I should have recorded this yesterday when it was sunny and 85 degrees. But I didn't because I was enjoying it being sunny and 85 degrees, and now it is snowing.
So this is the view. I know it's a little blurry. Out my window. And again, it was 85 degrees yesterday.
Yeah, so there's that. What are you gonna do? Second, before we jump into things, today what I'm wearing is my Calm Down cardigan, and it is finished. So earlier this month, Knit Picks shared a National Craft Month discount code. So I was able to snag the last ball of yarn I needed and finish up this sleeve. This is a pattern by Lily Kate France, and it is knit in Knit Picks City Tweed DK in the color Blue Blood. All right, so I don't know if you've noticed, but flower patterns seem to be having quite a moment. Not just because it's spring, ostensibly. They have been popular for probably at least 6 months or so, maybe more. And I have created a bundle in my Ravelry favorites that includes about 3 dozen flowery patterns. So specifically color work, there may be some duplicate stitch, there may be some mosaic stitch, and then there may be stranded, but all realistic flowers, not sort of lacy things that look like flowers, but actual flower motifs done in some kind of colorwork stitch. Today, specifically though, I'm going to be focusing on 10 flowery patterns from some lesser known and smaller designers. So of course, we've all seen the Rosie Sweater. We have all seen whatever Jessie made sweater is. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And those patterns are in the bundle as well. But today I want to highlight maybe some patterns that you haven't seen from some designers that maybe you haven't heard of. I haven't heard of many of them myself. So again, all of these in the description box down below. Let's start off with a nice little accessory for spring that is the folk flower scarf. This is a pattern by Caledonia Dreamin'. This is available on Ravelry for only $4.61. And it looks like it is available in both English and French. This pattern is double knitting, so not stranded color work, but that also makes it reversible. So I will pop a photo in here of, sort of showing the opposite side of the scarf as well. Folk flower scarf is a reversible scarf worked in double knitting. This technique allows to knit a lovely folk flower pattern without having to carry your floats of yarn. You create a double layered fabric. And it says there are video tutorials included if you have never done double knitting yourself. So it does just come in the one size. That makes sense. If you wanted something bigger, you would work at a heavier gauge. This is done in a sport weight yarn. The suggested yarn is Hobby upcycled alpaca wool big, which I have used before and is a very nice yarn. So again, this is a designer I really haven't heard of before, Caledonia Dreamin'. She does, however, have a fair number of patterns in her portfolio, 24, and there is also a folk flower sweater if you are more interested in that. But this is a almost brand new pattern. This was just published in February 2026, so there aren't very many samples, to kind of look through here on Ravelry, but she does have a very nice sample with lots of photos on the main pattern page. Love that. Love that it uses some double knitting. Love that it is a more kind of like folk art, folksy kind of flower motif. With double knitting, it may make, it's obviously going to make a heavier layer, so maybe not ideal for actual spring, but when it's snowing outside in the middle of March after being 85 degrees, it would probably be a great choice. So again, that one is the folk flower scarf. Next up, we have the Mellern, I don't know, cardigan by Denise Waringa. And this one is just, it's a beautiful work of art. I don't personally love corrugated rib, which is the accent detail here, but the overall flower, branch, leaf motif is absolutely beautiful. So this pattern is available for $6 on Ravelry. This was published back in December 2024. There are a few projects here you can look through. It says, wonderful romantic cardigan features an intricate design of delicate flowers and branches. So it's definitely looking at the picture, but also the techniques. Probably not for a beginner, but it is stranded colorwork, so not double knitting or mosaic knitting this time. And it does use steeks. So there's no big deal about steeks as long as you are careful to reinforce the stitches before cutting them. You're fine, but I know it's a little intimidating. So the recommended yarn is either a fingering or a sport weight. The sample uses the Holzgarn Super Soft, but she is also saying that the Finalgarn by Rauma, which is a sport weight, would also be a good choice, and that makes sense. And of course, for something that you are going to steek, you definitely want a non-superwash wool. So I have not heard of this designer before. She has a few patterns on Ravelry, not a ton. It looks like 8. And some other very lovely color work options as well. A very intricate scarf that is beautiful. Another sweater top, but this one in particular with all these beautiful flowers fits right in with our theme. The pattern does include 6 sizes. Unfortunately, not super size inclusive, so the finished bust circumferences go from 33.5 up to 52.5. But a lot of times with sort of an all over color motif like this, that is one of the big challenges, is trying to grade them. So again, that is the Meller, I'm not sure, cardigan by Denise Waringa. If you're interested in something a little smaller than an all-over colorwork cardigan, you might want to check out the Drying Flowers socks. This is a pattern by Fox and Folk. It is available on Ravelry for $5.50. The pattern includes 3 adult sizes, so small, medium, large, and they're socks, so uses fingering weight yarn. I love sort of the contrast between the little teeny flowers and then like the larger branches or leaves that are below them. Again, not a huge fan of corrugated rib. That is something you can relatively easily change on your own. It looks like this is going to be using, it looks like in general you're going to be using about 3 colors. She has also chosen to do a contrast heel and toe and mix that extra color in, but you wouldn't necessarily need that. You could definitely just stick with 1 main color, and then it looks like 2 probably contrast colors. So the recommended yarn is the 2-ply jumper weight from Jamieson and Smith, not Jameson of Shetland, but pretty much any sock weight, any fingering weight yarn is going to work here. And you're not steeking, so you don't have to worry too much about using a non-superwash. We often like to use a superwash yarn for socks. It makes the socks easier to wash, obviously. But sort of the sticky nature of a non-superwash wool can sometimes just help hold together a colorwork pattern a little bit better because the yarn isn't kind of slipping around, past each other. But your mileage may vary. So again, that's Fox and Folk. And they have quite a number of patterns here on Ravelry, 138. But in general, Oh, and some of them are quite lovely. Lots of color work, but I generally haven't seen much from them before. If you like sort of more rustic knits and color work, that's something you might want to check out their overall catalog. So again, those are the Drying Flowers socks. All right, this one might be my favorite. I don't know if I would ever actually make it, but I don't know. This one seems like the most cheerful and springy to me, and that is the Anemone cardigan by Soraya Garcia. So this is available on Ravelry for $10.31. It is available in English and Spanish, and this is a worsted weight. So it says, Anemone is meticulously crafted using a top-down seamless knitting technique with stranded color work and an exciting steeking process. And I love the big bold flowers on the bottom and then the teeny little bit of flowers up around the collar. It's a circular yoke cardigan knitted seamlessly and steeked in the round. Yoke design is uncomplicated, featuring short rows and subtle increases. The pattern includes 9 sizes. So the finished bust circumference goes from a 31.5 up to 63. And it uses 3 contrast color yarns. Nope. It uses 3 colors total. So 1 main color, 2 contrast colors. So the recommended yarn is Wensley worsted, which is from La Bien-Aimée, which is actually a DK weight yarn despite being called worsted. And let's see, the gauge is, here we go, 20 stitches and 28 rounds. So yeah, heavy DK, a lighter worsted is probably going to be good for that. And again, it is also available in Spanish. So I have not heard of this designer before. Soraya Garcia is a Spanish knitwear designer. She is originally from Madrid. She has, again, a larger portfolio than I would have suspected since I haven't heard of her before. She has 68 designs, sort of all over the place. Color work, shawls, stripes, texture, whatever you kind of might be looking for. She has a little bit of that. But this particular cardigan does look like it is her most popular design. And it really is absolutely adorable. I love those flowers. They're so cute. Maybe someday I'll have a flower era, and then maybe that will hop on my needles. But that again is the Anemone cardigan, Soraya Garcia. Again, if you are not really prepared for a big bold sweater, maybe you want to try something smaller. We have the Flower Symphony hat by Karolina Adamczyk. I don't know. Polish is not great. This is a pattern available on Ravelry for $7.89. It uses a worsted weight yarn and it comes in 3 sizes and is available in English and Polish. And as you can see, it has a very bold, all over flowery color work motif. It looks like, based on her samples, she has a couple of different brim options. So it says a charming and cozy hat featuring a floral color work pattern. A flower motif continues all the way to the crown, creating a lovely seamless look. So incorporating crown decreases into a color work pattern, it would be a challenge. So kudos to her. It has knit from the brim up with 2 options. So a shorter or a longer folded brim and child size, as well as 2 adult sizes. And again, it says a worsted weight yarn, but some of the recommended yarns are more like a DK, and it's a hat, so it's pretty flexible. And it looks like it is just using 2 colors, but some of her samples look like they're using a gradient yarn, which makes your color work designs look more complicated than they are, and I really love that. If you use either for the background or the foreground color a gradient yarn, it just gives your projects a little extra dimension with no extra work on your part, which I'm a fan of. So Karolina, I'm not going to try to butcher her name again. is a Polish knitwear designer. She has 50 designs in her portfolio, and they look like pretty much all color work. So if you were a color work fan, you almost certainly want to check her out. As I said, I have not heard of her before. That may just be because I don't do a whole lot of color work knitting, but she has some really beautiful pieces here. So again, that one is the Flower Symphony hat from Carolina Adamczyk. All right, we got another big, bold sweater next. That is Root to Rise by Catherine Clark. This one is available on Ravelry for $12. It comes in 11 sizes. It looks like it was originally published by Brooklyn General Store, so maybe Catherine Clark is an employee there. I don't know. And it uses a sport weight yarn for this all over color work that is absolutely stunning. So this is a top-down sweater knit in the round, short row shape the back neck. We all know how a circular yoke sweater is constructed. Optional folded hem, an optional hidden message worked into the hem facing. Well, that's fun. Oh, I see. It has a little root to rise, which, if you're not familiar, is common set of instructions in yoga practice. And so again, it is available in 11 sizes. So the finished bust measurement goes from 33 3/4 up to 67.5 inches and designed to have about 4 inches of positive ease. The recommended yarn is La Bien-Aimée Sport Nouveau, sport weight yarn. And it looks like it uses one main color and 3 contrast colors. So again, this is a circular yoke and it's a pullover, so there's no steeking or anything scary like that. But there is a lot to keep track of here. There's a lot going on. You've got a yoke pattern, then we transition at the bust, then we have like a mirrored set of flowers on the other, and then we've got some stuff going on around the hem, and then maybe you want to make a secret message. So this is definitely a big, ambitious project, but I think the results are stunning. Let's see, Catherine Clark, again, I haven't heard of her before. Yeah, and she does own Brooklyn General Store. She has 54 designs here, but and if you like the motif from the sweater and maybe just want something a little calmer, we have the Root to Rise cowl also available. Almost all of her designs are color work. Okay, so she designed the Eshell pattern, which was published in Pom Pom Quarterly back in 2018. It was very popular. It's like a sun, moon, stars kind of all over motif. And she has a few other flowery patterns here as well that are lovely. Again, if you are super into color work, you probably want to check her out. And there are 29 projects of this particular sweater on Ravelry. So this was published in August 2024. So it has been, getting closer to 2 years, but this is a very ambitious, ambitious project. And the whole flower thing, I don't think had really kicked off by August 2024 yet. So maybe we'll see some more interest in that as the flower mania continues to take over. So again, that one is Root to Rise by Catherine Clark. All right, if we like the all-over colorwork garment idea, but maybe we need something slightly less ambitious, we have the Flowers of Fort Rose vest by Corinne Tomlinson. This is available on Ravelry for $10.95. And it looks like this one has 8 sizes. So the finished chest measurement goes from 37.25 to 58.75 with an intended 3 to 5 inches of positive ease. And this one is done in the Jamieson & Smith 2-ply jumper weight. And this one, the sample uses a lot of contrast colors, but you wouldn't necessarily have to do it that way. I feel like you could reduce your number of colors. So it uses 1 main color and 4 contrast colors. But again, you could repeat colors in some of your flower stripes if you really wanted to, and maybe cut back a little bit on the contrast colors needed. Oh, and there's a hat and mittens as well. And the Jamieson & Smith 2-ply jumper weight is one of Corinne's favorite yarns. So that is a fingering weight 100% Shetland wool. Are we steeking our armholes and neckline here? Let's see. It looks like the Woolly Thistle does also have kits. If you struggle with picking out colors, that is always a great option. And yes, the armholes and neck are created with steeks. which makes perfect sense. So love this. It looks like the pattern is very repetitive. It creates an all over motif, and that is also going to make it a little bit easier to perhaps memorize as needed. And there are 23 projects on Ravelry, so you can check that out. Corinne Tomlinson is the definitely seems to be the owner of the Woolly Thistle. She has 18 designs in her Ravelry shop. Again, a lot of color work, some other options as well, but mostly color work. And it looks like, her patterns are also available at the Woolly Thistle. And of course, probably in addition to this one, she probably has kits for some of her other ones as well. So love this for something that's maybe a little less intimidating than a full garment. Vests tend to be more boxy. There's less shaping. You are still steeking, but I know you can handle it. And really just so cheery for spring. So again, that is the Flowers of Fort Rose vest. All right, next up we have another lovely sweater, but one that is a little simpler, a little less ambitious. It looks like it uses about 3 colors. There are plain rows of stockinette in between. It just looks a little bit more chill. And that is the Remune, I'm going to guess, sweater by Woolly Chronicles. This is available on Ravelry for $6.67. And as you can see, this has these lovely flower stripes, and then you get some easy rows in between with the stockinette. Also, there's a cat in the picture. That's clearly giving it an edge. So the Remune, or Daisy in Lithuanian, so I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, sweater is a seamless raglan knit top down with wide straight sleeves. So we're not steeking here. We have kind of a boxy shape. We have raglan shaping, which, we're all pretty familiar with at this point. And very seamless, all knit in the round. So the sweater pattern includes, 13 sizes, has a finished bust circumference from 34 up to 63 inches. So it's about a 2-inch grade, 2 inches between each size, which means you're really going to be able to get a pretty custom fit, as opposed to when you're wrangling with like 4 or even 6 inches between sizes. The recommended yarn is Merino by Knitting for Olive, which is a light fingering weight. And it says the intended ease is 1.5 to 5 inches. So you're using one main color and one contrast color. I'm sorry, 2 contrast colors. So one for the petals and one for the center of each flower. And it says it uses a Rook bind off, and I have no idea what that is. It's an easy tubular bind off. All right, well, I can't delve into all that now, but apparently it has that technique, which sounds, interesting. I always like to learn new things. It doesn't say whether there are any video tutorials or anything included. So, and of course you could, sub in a regular bind off, I'm sure. So I am not familiar with Woolly Chronicles. Let's check her out. She is from Lithuania. As you might imagine, she doesn't have a whole lot. She has about 6 patterns on here, and all of the photos include her cat. So I am already a huge fan of her. It looks like they're all sort of similar styles in that they are pullovers with sort of wide sleeves. And that is her only color work one, although there is one with some stripy stuff going on. And I'm a big fan of the cat. Does she say the cat's name? No, she doesn't say the cat's name. I feel like that's a big oversight on her part. But there are 20 projects you can check out on Ravelry. And again, hopefully as Flower Power Mania continues to expand, more people will be discovering this darling little pullover. So again, that one is Remune Sweater, available for $6.67 on Ravelry. All right, one more little project in case you just want something small. And this is really little because it has a tiny little bit of flower color work and a little bit of what I'm guessing is cabling. And these are the Geranium socks by Greener Makes. This is a pattern on Ravelry for $6.62. It looks like the pattern includes just 2 sizes. You can see it is sort of a stem with what looks like cable petals and a little flower, and presumably you can make your leg of your sock wider by adding an additional repeat of that. You may also want to adjust your gauge depending how many stitches that is. So the Geranium socks are inspired by the botanical genus Geranium, a combination of relaxing stockinette, an interesting textured pattern, and a short color work section. And they are knit toe up. I know not everyone is a fan of that. I personally love a toe up sock. Obviously, they are socks. They use fingering weight yarn. The recommended yarn is Ovis sock from Wool and Twine Fiber Studio. And it looks like the pattern is also available in German. So I know Wool and Twine is a German yarn dyer, so that makes sense as well. There are a few patterns on here that you can check out. She has, like when designers include tester or other knitters samples, photos on the pattern page. It does say that the leaves on these stems are made with cables. And then you really just need a couple tiny little straps of the contrast color to put the little flower blooms at the top. I really like that. The kind of gray main color in the picture, I don't love just because they seem like so cute and springy. I would like to see a brighter color, and there are some brighter colors in some of the samples that people have done, and they all look adorable and festive and springy. So Greener Makes, again, not familiar with this person, not a huge portfolio, about 16 patterns. Some other cute colorwork stuff, particularly socks. She also has the No Mo socks, which also look like they have a flower and leaf motif, which is adorable. Definitely very kind of botanical inspired. So if you are interested in quite a few botanical inspired patterns, you will definitely want to check that out. But again, these socks in particular, looks like they were published back in October 2024 in a brighter color. Yeah, a nice green would be lovely for spring. So again, that is the Geranium socks. And then we are going to finish up with just the happiest sweater. This is Bliss. This is a pattern by Yoon Cecily. I'm so sorry. And this is available on Ravelry for $9.78 or 90 Norwegian kroner, it looks like. And it's just so happy and bold, and I love it. It's so vibrant. So there are, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sizes for this pattern, and it is worked in a worsted weight yarn. It's intended to have an oversized fit with 20 to 25 centimeters of positive ease. 20 centimeters is 8 inches, so I guess maybe 8 to 10 inches of positive ease. Doesn't give you a lot of information. Okay, here we go. The construction information is way at the bottom. It says you work the body, yoke, and sleeves from the bottom up. Then you steek the armholes and sew in the sleeves. So a little bit of a more involved project, but it's just so happy and lovely. It uses 1 main color and 3 contrast colors. The recommended yarn is either Fivel by Rauma, which is Aran weight, or Luna Lammelgarn by Hillesvåg. I'm not even going to try it, which is a worsted weight. So all of the sweater measurements are given in centimeters. I'm not even going to try. But it goes from 100 up to 170 centimeters finished bust circumference. I just love this. You've got big bold flowers. You've got like tiny little bits in between. You've got some stripes at the end. It just looks very happy and bright. On the other hand, it is a worsted to Aran weight colorwork sweater. So are you actually going to be wearing this in the spring? No, but is it going to be a bright pop of color when it's January and you're so tired of gray? Yes, and that's always nice. So Yoon Cecily, I am not familiar with her. She's only got technically 6 patterns here on Ravelry, but 2 of them don't have photos. She also has another very festive colorwork flowery pattern called Joy. And then she has some kids patterns. So not a whole lot of information here about her or her design process or any of that, but there are 41 projects for the Bliss sweater that you can check out on Ravelry as well. This one was published back in November 2024. So about again, not that the flower mania maybe hadn't quite taken over yet, but we're definitely there now. And I think this is a great addition to our flower power list. So again, that one is Bliss by Yoon Sicily. All right, friends, so there you have it. 10 flowery, flower power, spring inspired designs from some smaller or lesser known designers that I think are worth a look as this sort of interest in flowery color work patterns seems to continue to be expanding. Again, I have created a bundle on my Ravelry page with all of these patterns as well as a couple dozen other ones. There are a fair number of flowery patterns out there. Some of them are very popular right now, but it's always nice to take a look at maybe what's not hitting the front page of Ravelry, but is still on trend, on theme, and you don't want to miss out on just because they're not the big name in knitting. It is still snowing. I was told that maybe some snowflakes would mix in with rain, and it's been snowing for like 2 hours. So all right, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. If you found it interesting or entertaining, I hope you will give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. New knitting videos here every Saturday. If you're looking for me on social media, you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Media Peruana, and I will see you soon in another video.